Okay, time for another OBS test. I got my J-Create capture device going into the USB 3 port, and I have an external capture device, an external audio capture device. And I got that plugged into OBS. So OBS is reducing the audio on this TurboGrafx-16 Mini. And I have my microphone coming in through a separate output. So I'm using OBS to mix the two together. The microphone's pretty close to my mouth. It's my Rode microphone, my traditional external microphone. So I'm not using my headset this time. I might end up using that later. I mean, I have half a mind to use my headset, if I'm being brutally honest. But I mean, the reason I'm using this Rode microphone is because it allowed me to capture audio with the capture device, with the J-Create capture device on the fly. The problem is the game audio is too loud. So there's no reliable way for me to monitor the audio from the game and hear my voice simultaneously, so that's not great. So I decided to do an easy game. Unfortunately, I'm playing this on a 4K screen, which is a terrible idea. Super Darius is not a game you want to play on this largest screen. I should not be playing this close to the screen. In fact, since I don't need to hear the audio, I can back up and turn around so I can play at an angle. But even then, this room isn't that big. The TB QA studio for video game excellence is not set up for that kind of thing. It's not set up to sit like 10 feet away from a 43-inch TV. That's why I normally play on a 19-incher. Because I can be somewhat close to it and still appreciate the pixel art. Okay, so I forgot to check out the manual for this game. This is a test. I'll bring out the manual in a second. This is the test. Whoop, right off the bat, dude. Wow. We're going to pretend that didn't happen. This game does not have auto fire. So I got the turbo set to level 2 for both buttons, the missiles and the fire button. A missile set to button 1, which is the A button on an NES. Fire is set to the button 2, which is the B button on the NES. Wow. Lord. That's rough, man. Part of me feels like this game was still designed for the double wide screen, which sucks. Because, like I said, the sprites are just too big. It's like they took the sprites from the arcade game and just kind of they took the sprites from the arcade game and copied them one-to-one onto the PC engine, which is not great. Like, if you're gonna reduce the playfield that much, you should reduce the size of all the sprites and make it and letterbox it, so that's easier to see everything. Like, there's no way you could. The only way you could approximate the ultra wide arcade setup. Whoop! Wow, it's bad. The only way to properly represent the. I don't think it's possible to represent the double wide arcade setup without like a super, letterboxed image, like with tiny sprites. Even then, I don't think you'd want to play a game like that on a regular TV at the time. Like, imagine playing this on a regular, 4x3 monitor, standard definition. You'd have to make all the sprites smaller and have big black bars on the top and bottom of the screen just to fit everything at once. Like these things I'm shooting at, those little floating heads. You'd be able to see them. They'd be on the far right side of the second TV screen if this were an arcade game. Because I forget how it worked. I don't know if they turned it sideways, but I think they had a regular. It was like they had two TV screens hooked up next to each other, like the X-Men arcade game back in the day. But that had 6 people playing on it, so that kind of made sense. But yeah, if you had a double wide arcade setup, you could see this game the way it was meant to be played. So my ship would be on this side of the screen, and all these obstacles would be appearing on the far right side of the second screen, which is on the far right. So there'd be 2 screens sitting next to each other. So my ship would be all the way on the left, and all those ships I'm shooting at would come over from the far right side. You'd be able to see them way in advance. I'll take that. Got my bombs. I gotta hold down button 1. I don't remember ever being a fan of Darius, like straight up Darius. But I mean, I never really played it. But I did like G Darius on the PlayStation, as ugly as it was. Because you'd have that ability to to steal enemy ships, kind of like Darius, which I was a huge fan of on the Genesis. Because it's like you would shoot out that special weapon on the Darius, then you could capture the power up the enemy was shooting. You can capture the weapon the enemy was shooting. So it's kind of like Kirby, I guess. It was like Kirby. Although Darius came out several years before. Yeah, Darius came out several years before Kirby's Dream Land, as I recall. Because I think Darius came out in 90. Was it 89? Was it 90? And Kirby's Dream Land came out in 91, if I'm not mistaken. But the idea was certainly there. I mean, like, there were always video games where you killed an enemy and they would drop a power-up. So Darius just said, okay, if you want power-ups, you have to actually capture them from the enemies you're shooting. So you'd press a button to fire off an R-type like fire off an R-type like weapon, and if it stuck to an enemy, it would then capture the enemy's weapon and give it to you, so you could steal the enemy's weapon. But your average video game would just like destroy this enemy and it'll drop a power-up. But obviously, the appeal of a game like Kirby or Darius is that individual enemies would drop individual power-ups. Instead of having the screen be cluttered with a bunch of, like, you know, power-up icons, the enemies are the power-up icons. You just shoot them. Which makes perfect sense to me, obviously. But my impression of these other Darius games is that they were just kind of plain Jane, like very basic shooters with like no real, like there is a power-up system in this game obviously, but it's like you're not getting a whole lot of interesting power-ups in this game. You have like 1 or 2 basic weapons, right? Your select doesn't do anything. Yeah, you can't even adjust your speed. It's just dodge up, dodge down. That's what it feels like anyway. Extremely basic. I mean, Star Soldier gives you way more to mess around with than this game does. I wonder if the bombs are stronger than the actual missiles. Excellent question. Yeah, the Darius games were never lookers. They were always like really ugly they were either really ugly pixel art games or they were either like meh pixel art games or ugly, like fugly 2.5D games on the PlayStation. Was it G Darius? There was G Darius and one other game I forget. Was it Darius Gaiden? But G Darius was like, okay, this like really ugly, you know, polygonal enemies. There's like really ugly polygonal backgrounds that moved. I think it was 30 frames a second usually. But they were just these really ugly low polygon. There's really ugly low polygon art in that game. It's apparent. Like I remember it being a decent game. It's just that it's just so ugly. And that's the thing that always bugged me about the PlayStation and the Saturn back. Well, mainly the PlayStation always bugged me because if they made G Darius like a really like, well, Taito didn't have those artists, but if they hired like the Axelate guys. Just imagine if you had imagine if G Darius looked like Axelate. It'd look amazing. They said, oh, let's make this game look like, let's put polygons in this game. So they have games that look as ugly as Einhander. Which I haven't played since it launched. I played Einhander when it launched, and I didn't really care much about it. But I remember it being ugly, because I never liked PlayStation 1 3D graphics. I never liked them ever. They never looked good. You know, Battle Arena Toshin didn't seem kind of amazing for like a week, and then all the scenes came apart. It's like, yeah, you can move around in 3D, but the models aren't that great. And then after a while, it's like, you know what? This is just bad art. It's in 3D. There's a 3D character model, so it's just bad art. Like, Virtual Fighter never looked good, but Virtual Fighter 2, like, I guess it looks fine. Obviously, I'm still willing to play it, but you just kind of accept Virtual Fighter 2 as is. That's probably like, yeah, if you're talking about, like, first generation 3D graphics, like, maybe Virtual Racing in the arcade looks fine. But yeah, I struggle. I mean, like, there are like lots of modern games do like the low polygon look, like Art of Rally, I think. It's kind of like looks like a PS2 game, I would argue. Like, Daytona USA probably looks terrible too. But yeah, I mean, if you were to remember, this game came out, I think this arcade game came out in like the late 80s, right? Like 87, 88, I think this game came out in arcades. We'll find out if we reset the game. Probably do when I die. I'll double check the date if I go back to the menu screen. But yeah, there's I admit I prefer good 2D PlayStation art to awful 3D PlayStation art. Like I could say it's a matter of taste, but even as a kid, I never really liked it because I was a fan of highly detailed pixel art back then, or even just like clean pixel art, like in a Earthworm Jim. Like, it didn't have to be like really detailed. Like, Earthworm Jim was incredibly well drawn. But it wasn't like freaky detail like Thunder Force 4 or anything. I was supposed to hold select at the start menu to get game level set, professional, easy. Okay, so I press select, set it to easy. That sounds like a good idea. Okay, let's try that. But we'll go to the menu. I want to do a quick check on something. I'm not saving my progress. This game's hard, apparently. By the way, this is in the PC Engine section. You go down here. This is where the TurboGrafx-16 Mini starts. Then you go down here to the PC Engine setting, and it switches to the Japanese games. This game's completely playable in Japanese. Not that you'd want to play it, in my opinion. I mean, it's a bone dry shooter. It probably gets better later, but it seems too much work to get to the good stuff. It's too hard too early, I would argue. Yeah, you can't see the date, but it did require a CD-ROM too. Yeah, it didn't require a Super System card. It just required like the Super Graphics, I think, was the version 3. But nothing about this game screams, oh yeah, I need a super card for this. This just looks like a game they could have made on a regular Hue card. Like, it looks like a regular cartridge game. Like, the music sounds terrible too, but it's probably Red Book. But it's terrible. Like Valis 2 has terrible music. It's just god awful. This has Dolby Surround sound for some reason. You want that on the sound effects or on the Red Book soundtrack? Oh, hold on. I forgot to set the difficulty. So press run. Then we'll press select. Then we'll go to easy. We can try professional later just to have some funsies. We'll see how hard this game gets. Easy, huh? So I have regular missiles, regular bombs, and an arm. I don't know what the arm is. That's the shield, isn't it? This doesn't look any easier. I like the conceit that, you know, I can just hide here on the back half of the screen. This missile doesn't seem any stronger than what I already had. I got a double bomb. Ah, jeez! And I lose all my power-ups. Amazing. Wow. This is supposed to be easy mode. Well, just for funsies, and no continues either. So let's try professional mode, just for funsies. We're almost done. Yeah, I'm a pro. I'm a professional. That! Yeah, it just got real. Yeah, that's professional. Yeah, this game just got real. Well, we're not gonna last very long here. Wow. Oh, and they shoot. So they add FU bullets to their arsenal as they fly away. Amazing. Just simply amazing. Get the shrimp. Remember this is the fish shooter. The fish op. Well, Darius is the fish opera shooter, in case you haven't heard, because of its wacky prog soundtrack. I was gonna say, do yourself a favor and listen. I don't remember what's the name of that song. What's the name of that fish opera song in Darius? The one that's... I know the song, but I still know the title. It's a Fantano song, let's put it that way. It's the kind of song where it's like, Fantano would call it one of the best video game songs ever, and people listen to it and be like, what the F is this? Okay, I think we're done. We get the idea. This game is going to be really hard to play. I'm going to have to practice. And I don't want to save Scum, but if there's no ability to save, I'm not going to want to play it. I want to save my progress as I go, but this game seems really tough. And like I said, there's no real power-ups. The power-up system seems really lame. Shame, really. Okay, let's see how everything sounds. This is basically a test anyway. Let's see how we do. I'll play a much better game later. I'll get around to playing Ninja Spirit someday. Give me a few weeks. Let the music play us out.